let's say China, United States, you know, what are the values that are being propagated there? What are the values? I'm assuming they're not religious, or they don't come
I think
from a
communism.
divine, transcendent,
Yeah.
place that transcends the idea of only this relationship that we have here in the material aspect of the world.
Yeah. So I think communism got rid of religion because there should only be one worship thing, and that's
The government.
the government
Yeah,
and
they
the
control
leader
everything.
and
Yeah,
the leader, whoever happens
yeah,
to
the
be
leader. Yeah,
Mao
I
Zedong,
mean, you look
or
at North Korea. That's a perfect example. They
yeah.
worship
Yes.
Xi Jinping.
They
No, that's
also
that's China. What is the other guy?
no, that's Kim Jong Un,
Kim Jong Un. Yeah,
but
they worship
that's
him
yeah,
like a god.
yeah. But like
And
most
they're
dictators
alienated from the rest of the world.
become worship. But what I was so if you're saying, if your argument is,
Would you say that that's a better outcome than like a better societal outcome than what we have here?
well, that's an extreme. Like if you take the extreme on the other end of the spectrum, you might get a similar, you might get, I don't know, the Spanish Inquisition, which is also not good, and that came out of quote unquote Judaic Christian values. The problem, I think, with that argument is that if you're saying that it's something that is transcends, and it's something that is more common, and is part of the nature of whatever, of existence of humanity, of why didn't all the groups in this planet, if got those ideas from nothingness or from divinity, like you put forth? Do all religious groups share those? There's a if by I don't know off the top of my head if you're gonna say, like, Islam has something, and then Shintoism has another thing, and Hinduism has another thing.
Right.
Um, if they're also, but there's a clear separation from your argument because you labeled them Judeo-Christian values. So therefore, like that puts into opposition. Like, why would separate the definition if all the uh,
But
the
wait,
philosophical points of view
but
share
how
the
how
same
am I
values?
labeling it
No,
though?
you labeling by the way of using the word. It separates it from the others.
Because
Like,
the term label, it
no, no,
gives
no, no.
gives me
I
the
don't.
idea of okay.
I'm just saying that this group has it, therefore others group don't. Otherwise, it would just be the values, right?
Oh, no, no, no. Every society has a set of values. I'm
Exactly.
not saying that.
So you're
I'm
saying
just trying
specifically,
to. Well, I'm trying to understand maybe the source,
yeah,
which is I'm not gonna be able to understand it,
right, right, right. No,
at least not right now.
exactly.
But I
The
mean,
great
I'm curious.
philosophers of the
Yeah.
21st century, Arthur and Louise, are here to explain the nature of existence.
Right? I mean, what the fuck? But I guess I mean, it's a curiosity that
Of
everybody
course.
has. I feel like it's almost like an urge, a natural urge that just comes at certain point in life. You're like, fuck,
Why?
whoa,
Why are we
why?
here?
Why are we here? And where's all these
W-
different emotions or different thoughts, or what is thought? What is the source of everything? Because I was tripping on this idea the other day, bro.
It's deep, bro.
Like you can you can get a super microscope and start going deep into like human cells and going deep into the science. At some point, you don't know where that spark is coming from. At some point, you can only attribute that that let's say you can only attribute existence to freaking divinity or magic, or where is it coming from? Where's a
Well,
thought come from? Like what is that spark? You can attribute that to like, oh, like chemical aspects or chemical reactions, or um how do you say, like, your nervous system is reacting, it's action and reaction, whatever, perception. At some point, you get to this level, to the source of it, that you're like, where is this spark coming from?
but I
And I'm
think,
like, you can only attribute that to either God or magic or nature, something that transcends, excuse me, something that is beyond our comprehension. You know what I'm saying?
well, I understand. I
It's
hear
very,
you.
very complex.
It is. But just because you don't understand the complexity of it doesn't you can't just make this jump in logic. Or you can. I mean, you're free to do so, but I would argue that it's not the best way to find an answer, even if there is one to be found, because maybe there isn't. But
Well,
um,
maybe, yeah, maybe it's not the best
maybe
side.
there is. But you just zoomed in, and I'll give you this analogy that maybe I heard
Maybe it's not
somewhere.
the best way to question it,
Right, exactly. Maybe
way
you're
to phrase it,
asking the
a
wrong
proper way to, yeah,
questions.
maybe, maybe.
But if you get
Indulge me.
if you have like a timing belt, you know
A
what a timing
what?
belt? A timing belt is like a part of a combustion engine. You have a timing belt, and if you
Okay.
start zooming in,
What is it? No, you have to explain it to me. I don't know what a timing
well,
belt
actually, I
is.
don't know what a timing belt is. I think that's the thing that goes when you turn on
Cheater!
the motor. It's the thing that actually gets the pistons to transfer the energy into the other parts of the motor that then eventually make it the wheels spin.
Okay.
Right. So it's
Okay.
the point is, like, no matter how deep you zoom in to any
We're
part
getting deep, bro.
of a gas engine, of a combustion engine,
Yeah.
you're actually getting farther away from why is the engine running. You're getting closer to each piece, and each piece becomes bigger and less, and you lose sight of the whole thing. But as soon as you start the motor, the engine runs,
Right.
right? And you can only understand that it's an engine and all these pieces are working together if you actually pull the zoom out instead of going in to the actual elements itself. So what I'm trying to in this metaphor, what I'm trying to get at is the fact that like your human body, it's built of very very tiny things and tiny parts that they all work according to a set of rules, but no one part makes your body, right? No one part makes the brain of Arthur by itself. It can't
It's a closed
become.
circuit, you mean?
No, I'm saying that like only when all of those things are all the elements that make you or
Are
make your brain
connected.
connected and are working together. That's when maybe that would be
So you
like an
think I'm a
approach to.
machine or something?
Absolutely. In fact, that's exactly what I
Oh,
think you are, but not in the
now you
sense
guys
of
are
this.
starting to
We are
understand the
biological
essence
machines.
of our ideas here, and
In our divergence.
the diver.
But so to all this to say that it's the combination of all the elements, and we don't know. That's another philosophical and also like neurological and neuroscientific questions, like what is the nature of consciousness. And again, I think I've already told you this before because we've already had these conversations. We're just having them again,
Yeah,
and we
which
always
is
go
very,
back to the same
and
topic.
it's, I mean,
But
because, and
it is very
I bet we're
important.
gonna be talking about this topic like
Yeah,
for most of our lifetime,
until we figure it out, it's gonna be one
which
topic wonder for
I
the
would be,
podcast.
I think I would be a little
Yeah.
pretentious to say that we're gonna get to the bottom of this someday, unless God decides to reveal itself to everybody in the physical world, and say, "Hey guys, here I am. I'm the source of all things, and now you have to believe me because I'm
Wouldn't it
here."
be nice?
Yeah, I know.
You know?
But
But
but see, I
in the absence of such revelation, I'm going to go with the empirical evidence. And there's no empirical evidence that suggests the existence of God.
oh my gosh,
So
okay.
so let's try to
Well, it depends how you
let's
define, not how you define, but what you consider empirical evidence.
you know repeatable
If you
data that
consider,
you can extract from the world, and you
yeah, so
can you
you're
know
talking about, axioms, right?
I mean, whatever,
Axioms,
like cause and effect, cause and
things that
relationship,
can that can be grasped, things that can be seen and touched and perceived
or inferred, because a lot of
within
the stuff you can't
within
see. It doesn't mean
within
it's not there.
the constructs of this dimension or this material world.
For the yeah, absolutely, because
Now,
that's where you can
you're
experiment.
talking about how, I mean, we're talking a little bit about how you see, like, how systems work, or how the human body works, and you're making that comparison to an engine when all the parts are
Working,
working and
yeah, this is a
properly put
metaphor.
together. It's a metaphor, yeah,
It's
of course. But now I'm saying, okay, so now we are within the constraints of this reality.
What do you mean? What's your case for more
Now,
realities?
well, I mean, I'm saying about a feasible,
Measurable.
measurable thing that you can actually see and touch and in a material way, you can observe that. Now, it's almost like that comparison I made when you go really deep into the cell and how
Hmm.
like
How the
the
mechanisms work.
origin of everything, how the mechanisms spark, or even a thought, how a thought
But that's very different to
sparks.
see how a cell works versus how a thought
Well,
works.
but if you have that,
Like,
if you perceive the world in that sense,
mhm.
then you can attribute the same idea to a thought and how a thought works.
Well, that's why I gave the
You
engine
know,
analogy, because one thing is to look at the
everything
bolts.
is basically systems.
Sure,
Systems
and
that operate um, um, not separately. How to say
in tandem,
autonomously,
yeah.
but they are dependent. Like they are codependent. The parts need to be connected
Mhm,
properly. But now, when you expand that perception, when you go either you zoom in or zoom out, you now you have a different perception of how things work.